There are few things that are more satisfying than a bowl of soup noodles, and it doesn't have to be an intense affair. Because, generally speaking, in China at least, you can actually see three different approaches to whipping up a bowl of noodles. Some, I think, a little more relevant to the average home cook than others. Because I think if I asked you to imagine a soup noodle dish, a lot of the internationally famous ones, like the ones that have their own Wikipedia page, usually what they'll do is dedicate an entire specific soup just for that soup noodle. For example, Cantonese wonton mein sports this sort of super complex seafood soup as its base. It takes about an afternoon. But if you don't make that soup, it's something else. It's not a wonton mein. Ditto with Lanzhou beef noodle soup, or outside China, stuff like tonkotsu ramen or Thai cow soy. These are much beloved dishes for an obvious reason, but they're also usually the domain of restaurants or vendors for an equally obvious reason. And that's because they are, sometimes royally, a total pain in the ass to make. As anyone that's tried their hand at something like a Vietnamese pho ball can tell you, there's some things that even the best home cook might just want to buy outside. But that's just one approach, and there are others. So then, one possible alternative route, also quite common and also way less intense, is to use a stir fry as a base instead, and then just add water or stock to get something soupy and flavorful. For example, in Nanning's Old Buddy noodles, it first fries up some pork, then some aromatics, garlic, fermented black soybean, chilies, fermented bamboo shoot, to get a good base at first. Then, for the liquid, at a restaurant they'll usually add in some pork stock, but at home, water would also be totally fine. Maybe you could toss some bouillon powder in there, but really with all those flavors, I don't think anyone will complain either way. So, let's show you that approach in detail, but before we do have a decision to make, and that is how we want to cook our noodles. One option would be to boil our noodles separately, toss them in a bowl, and ladle our soup over, and another would be to cook them in with the soup itself. The former will yield you a thinner, clearer soup, and the latter thicker and starchier. For our first stir-fry then soupify approach, we'll be making the northern Chinese classic Qiangguomian, which is grade thick, so we'll cook these in with the soup a bit later on. Now, the fundamental idea of a Qiangguomian is to really fry up whatever you have as a base, but today we'll be opting for the classic trio of pork, shiitake, and Napa cabbage. So this was just 70 grams worth of Napa sliced into strips, together with 30 grams of fresh shiitake mushroom, which was also sliced into strips. Then, for the pork, we'll use another similar 70 grams worth of loin, also cut into slivers, mixed with a super simple marinade of salt and white pepper, just to give things a bit of base flavor. Now, to make our soup then, over a low flame, first just fry up a half teaspoon Sichuan peppercorn, together with 1 star anise, all in about a tablespoon half of oil. All we're looking to do here is infuse the oil with the flavor of the spices. So once the color of the Sichuan peppers deepened a bit, after about 1 minute, toss in 2 dried chilies cut into sections. Then once those are darkened, after about 1 minute more, fish those all out and discard. Then, flame on medium now, toss in the marinated pork slivers and start to fry. Once they've lost a bit of their color, after about 30 seconds, toss in a half inch of ginger, 1 clove of garlic, and 2 sprigs of scallion whites. Then, once those are fragrant, add in the shiitake mushroom and give it a quick fry for about 30 seconds. Then, add the Napa. Quick mix, quick swirl Shaoxing, another quick mix, and then a swirl soy sauce. Continue to fry for another 30 seconds or so, or until the Napa's softened, then add in 3 cups worth of water. Then just bring that up to a boil, and then go in with your noodles. This was 100 grams worth of dried noodles, but fresh would be the most classic for this specific dish. Either way, just sprinkle in a quarter teaspoon of 5-spice powder for a bit more complexity, and then cook the noodles until just about done. Then season all that with a quarter teaspoon of salt, quarter teaspoon chicken bouillon powder, 1/8 teaspoon MSG, and mix well. Drizzle in a half teaspoon of toasted sesame oil, transfer that over to a big bowl, sprinkle over the remaining scallion green, and you can give things an optional drizzle of dark Chinese vinegar over at the table. Just devour that immediately, right after serving, because these noodles do love to drink that soup. Then, approach number 3 is to make use of a jiaotou. Now, the word jiaotou by itself simply means ladled topping, so it can pretty much refer to anything that you top up over a soup. Like a fried egg is also equally a jiaotou. But often, that jiaotou can also be something really quite flavorful that can really add to the soup itself. A famous example might be something like a Sichuan braised beef noodle soup. The homestyle beef and its braising liquid go into the soup and really end up forming the flavor of the dish. That said, if you find yourself leaning on a jiaotou for your soup noodle, a nice idea would be to really heavily season things at first so that you do end up having enough base flavor. Like, this soup starts with all of this, even before any stock hits the bowl. But again, a nice stock is always nice, but it's definitely not imperative. For example, one reasonably common homestyle base in the Jiangnan region would be to just mix up a half teaspoon lard, a quarter teaspoon salt, an 1/8 teaspoon chicken bouillon powder, 1/8 teaspoon MSG, quarter teaspoon sugar, half tablespoon soy sauce, all together with 2 cups of hot boiled water. This will be enough to get you a nice noodle soup, especially if you've got a flavorful jiaotou. And on that note, to go with this, we'll be sticking with the Jiangnan theme and showing you an awesome classic from that region, Xuecai Rousi. Now, Xuecai is a kind of fermented mustard green, but these sorts of salty Chinese pickled vegetables are always a nice choice to base a jiaotou on. If you can't find Xuecai, you could also equally use Sichuanese yacai in this recipe here, which is a little different but close enough. Xuecai is a little on the salty side though, so we'll first soak about 30 grams worth in cool water for 5 minutes to mellow things out, then strain, squeeze, and set aside. Then, for the pork, just like the last soup, we'll be cutting up 70 grams worth into slivers, but this time do a full marinade of an 1/8 teaspoon salt, 1/8 teaspoon sugar, sprinkle of white pepper powder, a quarter teaspoon soy sauce, quarter teaspoon Shaoxing wine, and 1 teaspoon of cornstarch. Drizzle in 2 tablespoons of water until everything's combined and absorbed. Then coat that with 1 teaspoon of oil. And then with that, now let's fry up our jiaotou. So, to a wok, first just heat up about a quarter cup of oil until ever so slight wisps of smoke are coming from the wok, or about 185 Celsius, and drop in the marinated pork. Give those a quick shallow fry for roughly 1 minute or so, or until they're cooked through and change color, and then take them out. After that, remove most of the oil from the wok, leaving in about 1 tablespoon. Then, with the flame on medium-low, toss in your xuecai and slowly fry that until it gets fragrant and slightly drier, about 2 to 3 minutes, and then season it with a quarter teaspoon of sugar. Then at this point, go in with a 1/2 inch of ginger and the white part of 2 scallions, and fry those until they're fragrant as well. Then just swap your flame to high, add back in the pork, swirl in a 1/2 tablespoon Shaoxing, mix, 1/2 tablespoon soy sauce, mix, and then pour in 3 tablespoons worth of water. Let it come up to a boil, drizzle in a slurry of a 1/2 teaspoon cornstarch mixed with a tablespoon water, and once it's thickened, take it out, preferably on a pretty little plate just like they do it in Suzhou. Then just boil up your noodles according to their package. Toss them in a bowl together with your soup base and smother that stir fry all over everything. Layer on a totally optional fried egg for a bit of jiaotou diversity, and then sprinkle over some sliced scallion. And then with that, your second reasonably easy noodle and soup is also done.
So in the video, we use dry noodles for both versions, but in this kind of application, freshly made non-alkaline noodles are always preferred, especially for the Qiangguomian, the northern style ones. Homemade, fresh noodles are always the best. So right, as always, check out the recipe in the description box. A big thank you for everyone that's supporting us on Patreon, and of course, subscribe for more Chinese cooking videos. Alright, the dog's not here today because he's at the groomer, getting shaggy.